The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd's rock and roll masterpiece, recently turned 49 years old. If you don't already own a copy, you might want to check it out. It's one of the best albums by one of the best bands in history, and you can find it in any record store, pretty much wherever you are in the world. The Dark Side of the Moon was on the Billboard album charts for an incredible 14 years, and is thought to have sold about 45 million copies. It is one of the best-selling albums of all time. But why? Even the band can't explain it. Maybe the most important reason why the record was selling so well was that it was so genuine and really meant something. The album started out as a collection of songs about the difficulties of being a musician. Over time, the album grew to include songs about a wider range of topics, such as money, war, mental illness, wasted lives, and death. Even though the album has been loved for at least 3 generations, it still has a few secrets that only the most dedicated Floyd fans know. Here are 5 facts that we like the best. It was almost named The Eclipse. Despite Floyd's reputation for space rock at the time, the title Dark Side of the Moon was intended to sound like a trip into madness rather than outer space. When the band found out that someone else had come up with the name first, they were almost forced to change it. Medicine Head, a British blues rock duo, put out their own album, called Dark Side of the Moon, on John Peel's Dandelion label in 1972. The Sad Floyds were afraid of being called biters, so for a while they thought about changing the name of their record to Eclipse. But Medicine Head didn't do well, so they went back to the original name and hoped no one would notice. That insane laughter belongs to Naomi Watts' dad. The actress is best known for her roles in The Ring, King Kong, and Mulholland Drive. Her father, Peter Watts, was the road manager for Pink Floyd at the time. It is his crazy laughter that can be heard on Speak to Me and Brain Damage. He was also the one who wrote lines like, "I never said I was frightened of dying," at the start of The Great Gig in the Sky. It is sad to know that Watts would later die at age 30 in 1976 from an overdose of heroin. The album leaked nearly a year early. Pink Floyd worked on the music that would become the album while they were on the road. They played early versions of the songs to crowds that had no idea exactly what they were hearing. By early 1972, the band had played almost all of the songs in the cycle. Someone recorded a bootleg of their show at London's Rainbow. When the bootleg showed up in record stores a year before the album was supposed to come out, the band was shocked. They were sure that the popular boot would hurt the sales of the real album. Dark Side of the Moon was Pink Floyd's first album to chart in the United States. It's easy to forget that Pink Floyd's first 7 albums didn't do very well in the US. Before The Dark Side, the band's biggest US hit was the soundtrack for the French film La Vallée, Obscured by Clouds, which reached number 46 on the Billboard 200 in the summer of 1972. But because Capitol Records did a lot of advertising and American radio DJs played Money a lot, Dark Side of the Moon was at the top of the Billboard 200 just 2 months after it came out. Waters told Rolling Stone in 2003 that the song rose quickly on the American charts. "We were on tour in the States while that was happening. It was obviously going to be a big record, particularly after AM as well as FM radio embraced Money." There's a color missing from the spectrum on the cover design. Storm Thorgerson and Aubrey Powell are part of an art group called Hypnosis. The cover of Dark Side of the Moon was designed by graphic artist George Hardy. The band asked the artist to come up with a simple and bold design. The final piece shows a beam of white light shining through a prism, which breaks up the light into its different colors. The picture is made up of the colors red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. However, one color from the rainbow is missing, indigo. How do you feel about the album? Do you still think it's one of the best of all time? Tell us what you think in the section below.